Still celebrating, huh? Well, let me be probably the last to wish everybody a happy New Year. Let's hope that it's a happier and healthier New Year than it has been in the past. Since it is the night after New Year's Eve, you could have been a little more polite tonight and applauded with mittens on. Especially knowing some of our... So you should throw Pepto-Bismol today instead. I want to tell you, you I know about. It is a little sensitive today. You did it last night. It was kind of late, and you got a headache this afternoon because somebody bit into a lower scudder potato chip in Bakersfield. Oh, he goes. He woke up about 4 this morning on Catherine Kuhlman's front porch wearing nothing but a party hat. Saying, heal me, heal me. And our staff last night, the Tonight Show staff, had its annual New Year's Eve party. It's a BYOB party. That's bring your own bail. It's nice, though. All the kids, the staff gets to meet each other, and the secretaries were the happiest about it because it's the first time they had ever ridden in the back of a squad car. Hello, Doc.
How you feeling? Happy New Year.
Happy. Did you have a good New Year's Eve last night?
Oh, I lost the power of speech 2 nights ago.
Yes, I remember about that. I'll tell them about that later. That was we went to the annual musician's nutmeg snort. I've been around a long time, but I certainly got to meet all the guys the other night. And you're all under arrest. Now, Tommy last night tied one on. He had 6 scoops of Baskins and Robbins rum parfait. Well, so the jerk had to tell him last call. Yeah, he was going at it. No, he had a great time celebrating New Year's Eve. Tommy does things different than most of us. What he did, at least stayed at home, threw an Alka-Seltzer into the toilet tank and watched the tidy bowl man get seasick. Now, Burbank, I want to tell you, Burbank is, New Year's Eve is really a rip-roaring affair out here. We have, what happens, the way they celebrate the exact stroke of, the New Year. A senior citizen climbs to the top of McDonald's arches, drops a prune, and when it hits the ground, it's New Year's Eve. It's something like this, like Times Square. And, now, we were on opposite last night. Well, I'll admit it, we have tough competition every New Year's Eve because we're against Guy Lombardo, who is an institution. And, those of you who remember, was he at the Roosevelt Grill last night? Where was Guy?
He was Waldorf.
Waldorf last night. Oh, Guy's moving up. I watched. He's a lovely man, but he's getting a little, he's not as young. He nodded off at 11:15 last night. He still had a little of the old bubbly, though, but it was what it was. It was carbonated Geritol. Last night there was no champagne. Well, let's go to the news and see if Walter Cronkite got a new tie for Christmas. We have good news and bad news. The good news is that 1974 is over. And the bad news is that 1975 is just beginning. It is 70, I believe it's 75. For a while, it didn't look like we were going to make it, did we? Through 1974. But I think 75 is going to be a great year. Not for us, for Catfish Hunter.
Yeah.
Did you read about Jim Catfish Hunter? Just signed contract, I believe, with the New York Yankees for around $4 million. $4 million for throwing a baseball. He makes more than President Ford, which shows you that baseball is much more lucrative than football. Let's don't start the new year like this, friends. No, but 74, you got to admit, was a strange year. We had a president who resigned from office. The economy went into a slump, and Joe Namath started wearing pantyhose. You know something? It's hard to get used to saying it's 1975, yeah. Especially when it's stamped on a box of sugar. You got to think about that, folks. How many of you watched the Rose Parade from Pasadena this morning, or saw part of it? That is beautiful, beautiful floats, really. It is incredible. Everything on the float have to be from living plants or florals, and then Most beautiful flowers I've ever seen. It looked like a funeral for the economy. And the float that won the grand prize was absolutely breathtaking. I don't know if you remember the sweepstakes grand prize winner. Those of you who missed it on the parade, it's unfortunate because Yule Gibbons ate the winner. I saw you out there this morning. Ed
I was there.
You were the roving master of ceremonies on the street.
Right.
And I want to congratulate you for a magnificent job.
Thank you.
The way Ed got the job for the New Year's Day was that he said he was going to be lying on the curb in Pasadena anyway. Did you see Burbank's float? They entered a float this year. It didn't win anything, but it was a runner-up for ingenuity. They had 200,000 multicolored, I think, Vanya orchids, representing a giant set of dentures. And how they got it to open and close on that corn cob, I'll never know. Well, what else has happened? Was President Ford back in Washington? He had a nice vacation. He was out skiing in Vail, Colorado. He's learning to ski. He's going to go... learning to go downhill with the rest of the country. Marlon Brando is in the news. Have you read about? Marlon just donated all of his land to the American Indians, which is quite a gesture, and everybody is happy. Unfortunately, John Wayne just gave all his land to the cavalry. John has a sense of humor, doesn't he? Yeah, I mean, you know him, huh?
Yes, yeah.
Big sense of humor.
Yeah, he'll think that's fine.
I don't like that joke. I can hear him coming now. Well, you sound like you're in a nice mood. I thank you for joining us tonight. Hope you have a happy New Year. We had a great show tonight. We have Marty. You've read about Marty, the marijuana mouse? It's been in the papers. He's going to appear here tonight and go through the band's locker. Yeah, he's about 3 days too late. Anyway, tonight we have Mr. Foster Brooks. We have Victor Buono is with us, a lovely lady, Adela Rogers St. John, and Joan Embery from the San Diego Zoo with some fascinating new animals for 1975. So we'll be right back. Thank you. We'll be right back. We are back, and it's our first show of
1975.
Do you realize that we may, if we get lucky, be around to see the year 2000?
2000, right.
Would that seem strange?
It would seem very strange.
All the hundreds, 1800s, 1900s, and all of a sudden you say, it's 2000.
A speech that I made for my son's graduating class 5 years ago. I said, 30 years from tonight, it'll be the year 2000. That's 25 years from tonight.
That's right.
That's not too long.
Are we going to...
We'll make it. As long as I can wheel you out in the wheelchair and say, here's Johnny.
What do you mean that I'm going to be in a wheelchair?
Well, I'm going to say as long as I can do that.
I'll be a relatively young person in 25 years.
We never kept the tape. Did we have the 2,000-year-old show we did?
We did a takeoff of that once. I think it was in New York. We did the show as if it would have been done in the year 2000. And Ray Vogie at that time, the makeup man in New York, spent hours and hours working on Doc and Ed and myself with real great makeup. And we came out as we were doing the show 25 years from now.
You remember that? And I asked you, you said, it was so cold. And I said, how cold was it?
Oh, yeah, and I said...
And you
couldn't
forgot.
remember anything. Yeah. Did the golf swing and fell down. Well, anyway, it's 75.
75.
Everybody has it. And we thought, I saw you out there this morning, and I recommended, you didn't have to use them, did you?
No, and you know
He
what?
thought I was joking.
No.
I recommended electric socks.
Right. And I went to a party afterwards. I thought I was crazy. I thought I was really drinking. But I have them. I had them on, and you just wear electric socks with a little flashlight battery, and they are the
They
greatest
have
thing in
little
the world.
wires that run down.
Yeah. And they got too hot. I had to take the battery out. It was too warm. Really?
But they do have such things.
Oh, yes. I was prepared in case.
Yeah. I learned that trick from my father years ago. Of course, we didn't have electricity then. He had kerosene socks.
Carson, oh, yeah. Yeah, well, they'll work.
And he just lit them, and that was murder. Man, he was warm for a while.
Towards the end of the game.
Well, look, we thought since it is 1975, that what better first guest to present tonight than to be able to talk to the baby New Year.
Oh,
for
that's
19,
great.
You know, and so today we're privileged, and we're going to see what this baby has to say about what we expect in 1975. Would you welcome, please, the baby New Year, 1975. I welcome you, and I'm somewhat surprised. You're a very tall baby.
Yes, well, it's fun being big and tall, because I'm the first one to know when it rains.
That's true, and you're also the last one to know when there's a rising floodwaters.
That's true.
You ever thought about that? Now, you were just born last night.
Yes.
Yet you're so big.
Well, you should have seen my birth.
Yeah.
You should have seen my mother's water break. In fact, you can see my mother's water break. It's the Hoover Dam.
Come on now, you nasty baby. Well, look, as the 1975 New Year's baby, and that's what you are, do you have any predictions for the coming year?
Yes, I predict that Jackie Onassis and Aristotle's Onassis marriage will be in trouble.
Oh?
Tim Conway is the reason. But Aristotle Onassis says there's no problem.
Yeah.
He and Tim are just fishing buddies.
I didn't know that. Well, that's kind of you're kind of the...
No one knew that.
No, nobody knows it now. But you're kind of the Rona Barrett of new babies, aren't you? Look, what else? A gossipy baby. What else is in store for us for 1975?
Well, a midget will become president of the United States.
Well, that's tremendously interesting.
And that's why they will be installing seatbelts in the White House bathrooms. Little tiny fella.
Little tiny fella, and they haven't done that since Hoover, I understand.
No.
Put him back in. Now, do you have any tips for people, this is the day after New Year's Eve, for hangovers?
Yes. Go to the nearest hotel and get a bellboy to swing you around by your tongue.
Well, that's kind of weird. Do you have any other tips?
Yes. If you want to clean your system out today, I have this tip.
What is that?
Sit on a piece of cheese and swallow a mouse.
That would be like the end of the trail.
Yeah.
Yes, it would. You have kind of a live roto-rooter there, yeah. Now, do you have any predictions, just looking ahead, say, science and medicine is advancing so rapidly, anything new in the medical field that'll be exciting for this year?
Yes, in 75, a weird doctor in Beverly Hills, in the medical profession, will take two normal brothers and attach them at the hips.
Actually, you just join them together.
That's right.
Well,
it's going to be a weird year.
Of course it is. Everybody has their own hang-ups. Now, look, since Christmas has just been here, as you know, let's talk about something else, a Barbie doll. You're familiar with the Barbie doll?
Yes, it was a big success.
That was probably the most well-known toy in the entire world. Are there going to be any new dolls for 1975?
Yes, there will be a new doll in 75. It's called the Masochist doll. Baby Bruise.
Baby Bruise.
Call it. Yes. You pull off its arms, beat it for an hour, it screams for 20 minutes, and then at the end it says, I love you.
Well, that is certainly You are also a weird baby.
Yes, beginning to look.
Will there be any... How about inventions? Do you see any great inventions for now, or have we discovered everything?
No, in 75, they will invent the 1,500-pound aspirin.
The 1,500?
That's right.
Well, how on earth do you take a 1,500-pound aspirin?
With lots and lots of water.
Yes, that would probably do it. Let's move on to the area of travel. Is there any travel news?
Yes,
there normally follows an aspirin.
Big news.
What is any travel news?
Yes,
75. Nice blend there.
Big news. Big news. In 75, you will be able to travel to Europe by car.
Now, wait a second. How can you go to Europe by car?
Well, I can't reveal it all, but all I can tell you is you go through Connecticut. That's all I can tell you.
Go through Connecticut.
Yes, through Connecticut.
Now, look, you seem to have the power of predicting the future, which is unusual, being just born yesterday. Is there any one piece of advice before you have to leave a little bit of philosophy or something?
Yes. In this time of economic security, as the New Year's baby in 1975, I suggest that you take all your money and invest it in a chain letter.
Well, I want to thank you. New Year's Eve, baby.
Thank you.
I suppose it's, need not mention that was not actually the 1975. That was Mr. Pat McCormick of our staff. And studies are being conducted on Mr. McCormick now at several institutions in the United States. He definitely has a shingle hanging on there. We have with us tonight Foster Brooks, Victor Buono, Adela Roger St. John, Joan Embery from the San Diego Zoo with some fascinating animals. But first we have a message from Excedrin, the extra strength pain reliever. Come and get it. Okay. One of the most popular spots on The Tonight Show for the past, I guess, 4 or 5 years, Joan has been visiting us, is we look forward to it. A visit from Miss Joan Embery, who's an animal handler, and she's certainly in the right spot with this group tonight at the San Diego Zoo. She's a charming lady, and if you've seen the cover story of the recent Newsweek, it's about wildlife and the problems of extinction and the endangered species, and they mention the San Diego Zoo as being one of the finest in the world, which it is. Would you welcome Miss Joan Embery? See, you didn't get your usual warm welcome there from the audience because I cautioned them that the animals were getting a little bit skittish backstage.
This one's not so bad. It's what we have to come.
Well, I don't know what is coming up, but
she's being very
now,
good.
I want to see if anybody. I would not know if you brought this animal out. I happen to have it down here, what it is, but I would not know what that animal is at all.
It has hooves.
It has little hooves,
like a deer, right?
Very good.
Yeah.
Now, what
It's
is
like a deer?
In the deer
Deer
family.
family.
And it's the smallest member, and it's known as the Chinese or Reeves muntjac.
the Chinese or Reeves
Muntjac.
Muntjac?
She weighed about a pound at birth. They weigh anywhere from a pound to a pound and a half. They stand, when fully matured, about 17 inches tall.
May I touch your pet?
Sure.
You know, I always ask because you never know.
Are they from that nation? Are they from China? Is that how?
Yes.
A Muntjac. Look at that face.
We have a picture of her on a scale. When she came in, she was unbelievably small. You notice?
Is this one born in captivity?
Yes, at the zoo, and she's in our nursery in the children's zoo in San Diego, and you'll notice right below her eyes there's an opening. That's a scent gland. They scent their territory.
Oh, I see. I see that little, right there.
She has spots which are disappearing, and her name is Squeaker. You can hear
Squeaker.
her. You can hear her talking. The males will have antlers. The females do not. And also the males and females actually have the tooth which projects below their gum like a fang.
I've never seen one before. And that's what they're called, a Muntjac.
Or a tusk, muntjac.
Yeah.
And,
Are they rare?
Actually, not too awfully rare. They are breeding fairly well in captivity. We've had a number of them born at the zoo.
What do they eat? Is she on milk?
She's on a milk formula now. They are browsers. They'll eat leaves and bark and fungi and things like this.
And fungi,
And they're-
fungi. He was the fungi.
They're nocturnal, a nocturnal animal.
Well, that's very pretty. Okay. Thank you. We'll go out and... Now, don't applaud for whatever's coming in, because I don't know what's coming in. I see Craig over there saying...
Killer.
Don't say that. A killer. We've had some strange experiences on this show with animals over the years. Remember the night we had the... Say pussycat.
Whoop, not too close with the camera.
Not too close with the camera.
This is one of the most beautiful cats in the world. And we made a special effort to bring him and show him so that nobody will ever try and make a coat out of this type of cat again.
Oh, no, let's...
And this is one cat which has been taken for their pelt because they have, undoubtedly, by looking at it, one of the most beautiful coats. They have both stripes and spots.
This is a leopard, then?
This is a clouded leopard, very rare and not too often bred in zoos.
See what a lovely-looking animal.
We have a pair. They just came in from Laos, and Admiral Rafferty paid for their transportation from San Diego, so they are a donation, and we are very, very proud of them. They'll go out on display within the next month.
What a beautiful animal.
And he is 9 months old. He has all of his claws and his teeth. And he's done very well. He really does like people. But he gets a little bit nervous with the band, so that's why we've asked for it to be very quiet. And we think for a cat this size that he's done pretty well here this evening.
How large will he become?
These are a relatively small cat of the big cat family, and he'll be about, up to 45 pounds. So he'll gain maybe 10 or 15 pounds more.
But you really hope the days are now past with what we know, and everybody in the world knows that the days are past where animals like this or any wild animals will be killed to make clothing for people?
We hope so.
You would hope that would be
We
passed.
really do. They're making beautiful fake furs, and there are various furs that are able to be raised domestically that are quite beautiful. So there's really no need, and it destroys animals like this in their natural habitat.
That's a beautiful
Just
animal.
gorgeous. If we can lift his head up, and you can see.
Yeah. Beautiful.
He's a good boy. Yes.
Yeah. What's his
He
name?
likes attention. His name is Tui.
Tui?
Tui.
Okay, Tui.
We brought him out here earlier, and he saw all of the trees in the background, and he thought he was back in the jungle, and he ran for them and jumped
Really?
up on them and everything.
Hi there. Never had a leopard coat, never will have one. Trust me. He didn't believe me. I meant it.
He starts to move. He moves.
Remember the one night?
Yes.
Was it the gorilla or what did we have on?
Chimp, I think. A chimp on that track.
Chimpanzees, they always say they're just as gentle as the rain.
Yeah.
And then they see me and...
It's a thunderstorm.
We'll be right back. We have some more fascinating animals for you, so stay right with us. If you just joined us, we're talking with Joan Embery from San Diego Zoo. We have Foster Brooks, Adela Rogers St. John, and Victor Buono tonight. I guess I'm supposed to cross over and meet Joan here for our next animal.
A putting green.
Okay, Joan.
This is another one of our very poisonous snakes.
Very poisonous snake.
But we have our anti-venom with us.
Oh, you have anti-venom with you?
Yes.
You have to carry that with you with the
Yes,
trainers?
we do. Now, with some snakes, we don't have it, but whenever we do have it, we bring it along.
No, that's not a python, and that's not it's not a viper, or what do they call them?
It is a cobra.
That's a cobra?
This is a cobra. This is the
It's not
Indian.
the hooded cobra, though.
Yes, it is, and Robin is going to try and see if he can get her to hood. She's moving very quickly there.
What makes them hood?
They have vertebrae that they expand, and this expands the skin on their neck.
Mm-hmm.
And the Indian cobra has one of the most beautiful and largest hoods of the cobra. It has a very distinctive pattern.
Right.
It's quite beautiful.
Why don't you defang them or
Well,
whatever?
the snake charmers use the cobras, and some snake charmers in the past have either sewn their mouths up so that they wouldn't be able to bite them, or they have removed the fangs. This is what is known as a fixed fang snake.
Ah.
The fangs are straight, and
See, I have a way with all wildlife called fear. If he bit you, what's the trainer's name? Our
this
handler,
is
rather.
Robin.
Robin, if that snake bit you, how long would it take you before you would you'd die?
That's hard to say. Everybody reacts different.
Oh.
Everybody has their own individual reaction to each type of snake, and
What the hell is that?
there are snakes that are considered more deadly as far as their poison goes than this one.
They are beautiful, aren't they? But
Yes, we think so.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, that's all right. If he doesn't want a hood, he doesn't want a hood. You got to be in a mood to hood. Okay. How many people have an inordinate fear of snakes? Shouldn't have asked that. Do I go back? I stay here. What was that noise?
That's what's coming out.
There's a terrible sounds back there of rattling bars and things. Here's our next animal, the invisible mandarin. Disguises himself. Oh-ho. Come on. Easy boy. Easy girl.
I don't think she'll come out. We'll bring our next.
Okay. Oh, just not show business.
It's no trooper.
That's no trooper. I don't even know what the animal is anyway.
A kudu.
It's a kudu. Was that what the noise was?
Well, he's been part of it. He's been playing with all the toys we put in there for him.
Has he been on the show before?
He has. This is baby Jim, who is now 14 months old and part of our gorilla breeding program at the Wild Animal Park. Hi, Jim. Hi.
I remember once on the show. Was that the one I was sitting with at the desk?
He was about 3 months old.
But is that? Can we show the slide? Somebody said we had a slide of when he was on the show.
There he is.
That's when he was 3 months old. Remember that show?
That's when he was just a little toddler. Now he's...
Look at him. I couldn't do that now, could I?
Well...
Hi, Jim. How's it
No,
going?
he's been biting a lot.
You see when she told me? Well, I had my hand in... The hand was in the cage. He's been biting a lot.
See?
Look at the size of him already.
He's a good boy.
Hi, Jim.
We have since had quite a few females sent to us from
How
other
are you?
zoos for breeding purposes.
How you doing? How big will he get?
Well, they'll be about 500 to 600 pounds. They're very large when fully matured. It takes him about 10 years to reach his full maturity.
Yeah.
And he's still eating monkey chow and fruit and milk. He's going to give you his blanket.
Give me the blanket? Okay. He wants it back. give me the blanket, Jim. Jim? Give me the blanket? Jim? 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 He only weighs, what, 30 pounds? I can't get it away from a 30-pound gorilla.
He's about 35, and at that size, they're as strong as a human.
Is that right?
Oh, very strong. When they get
I'm
a hold
pulling
of
on
him.
this. Jim. Jim?
He likes that towel. He has an orangutan that lives
Sure
with
does
him,
like
and
it.
they
He looks-
fight for the blankets. in
Jim, you
their
have my finger there,
enclosure.
Jim. He is strong. You won't believe this.
He's barking at you.
What?
Grunting.
Can he hurt me if I touch him?
Well, just don't let him pull your finger in.
Don't let him pull my finger in.
He has a little sister now.
Don't believe the strength.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Jim. Now, you won't be able to bring him back in a year. What, we're going to show what?
No.
We have some film?
Of his new sister, which the mother is taking care of on her own. They
Okay,
taught
let's
her
go
how
on back to
hold the
Desmo.
baby.
We'll roll the film.
Okay.
And then we'll take a look at it. Watch the monitors here in the studio. This is his baby sister we're going to see?
Right, the female.
Holy Toledo. Will he get that big?
Well, actually larger. That is a female, and you can see the little baby Benty. Now, the first child she rejected, which is Jim.
Right.
And he's being hand-reared. The second one, we had a researcher who taught her how to hold a baby doll because she was
Is that
dragging
right?
Jim around by his hind leg. But we had to teach her. They learned from their family group how to care for their young.
Look at
And
that. Yeah.
we had to teach her how to hold a baby. And since then, she's done very well. With the birth of this child, she has accepted it and cared for it properly. And we've had such success that Kansas City sent us 2 female gorillas, and
Right.
we just sent one back to Phoenix that we hope is pregnant.
Look at that.
You watch the toes.
Yeah.
See how she just kind of fiddles with her toes.
Well, what's she got to do?
They have a huge enclosure. They have their own swimming pool and their own play structure, about 25 feet tall.
Now,
And
the animal you were trying to bring out here a moment ago was a kudu?
It's a greater kudu, a beautiful member of the antelope family, but a little bit nervous, and I think the lights frightened her somewhat. We
Right.
don't want to push her because she's very valuable to us, and if we have animals that we take out, if they show us that they aren't really ready and they're going to fight, we'd rather not push it.
Hey, it's always fascinating and great of you, because I know what the trouble is of transporting animals up here from San Diego, but it's always a fascinating spot on the show. Is that the kudu back there doing that?
Look at Jim stretching.
Jim's looking. What's going on? Jimmy!
Are they easy to raise?
The gorillas?
Yeah.
Not really. They require a tremendous amount of care. You see, now he realized that nobody's standing there with him, and he wants attention, so he's going to cry.
The old sympathy gorilla trick.
Look at
So they do want affection, right?
Very much, and they require it for about 5 to 7 years. They are dependent on the female, and for this length of time, they are dependent upon humans if they do not have a mother of their own.
I thank you again, Joan, for being here tonight. I hope we'll see you again shortly. Happy New Year. Same to you, Doc.
Bye-bye, Joan. Look at him through the microphone. Look.
Put that microphone, he gets a hold of it, we'll never get the microphone back again.
Definite ham. He wanted to do a few numbers.
We will take a short break, and we'll be right back with our next guest. Stay with us. About 3.5 years ago. Thank you, Don. I think it was 3.5 years ago this gentleman made his first appearance on the show. It was one of our trips out to California before we moved here permanently. And at that time, he was the executive treasurer of the Burbank City Council, and he came to give us some greetings from Burbank, and we asked him on the first day of 1975 if he would come back again. He is now the executive secretary, or the executive treasurer. What did I say first?
I lost you.
Well,
he's been promoted.
He's been promoted.
Yes. It's a high position.
Yes, it is. Would you welcome Mr. Philip Brooks?
I beg your pardon, I haven't gotten to my blue mark yet. Well, friends, it's been one... That's... I don't know, really, no kidding. Did anybody see anybody else beside me see a snake? Really was one here. And a baboon, and a gorilla. You know, it's strange that it would happen. But just not just a very few weeks ago, a sister-in-law of mine, who happens to come from my wife comes from Buffalo. What son of a gun? I thought I got the last one. I wish I'd known I had a choice. Well, the Buffalo Zoo had just received a shipment of the largest gorilla ever captured in captivity. That didn't even sound right over here. And my sister-in-law and her husband went to see the gorilla. They were standing there, and they were looking at it, and all of a sudden the gorilla spotted my sister-in-law, and he just couldn't take his eyes off her. And all of a sudden he went. And my brother-in-law nudged her, and he said, I think he kind of goes for you. And she said, don't be silly. And with that, the gorilla grabbed a couple of the bars and pulled them real far apart, reached out and grabbed my sister-in-law and pulled her in a cage and started pulling her clothes off her and hugging her and kissing her. And she screamed to her husband, what am I supposed to do? He said, tell him you got a headache. You know, seeing those animals tonight, it sort of takes me back to my childhood when they used to have circuses, and they'd have, and when I was a child, they used to have a parade before all of the circuses, you know, down Broadway in my hometown. And now that the two big, I don't think they do that anymore. Now that the two big circuses got together and got together, this one circus now. They call it the greatest show on earth. I think it's now they call it the darn ding-a-ling and barn banging brother circus. But and as I say, it takes me back to my childhood, and then now as I stand before you here tonight in my adulteryhood, just wonderful the memories I have back then when the early or late spring morning or early summer morning when they'd have the parade, you know, all 7 of my brothers and I would get up and we'd run out to Broadway and sit on the curb. And we'd watch the parade. And Mom would always call after us, "Don't forget, children, when the elephants go by, you be sure and come home." And we'd say, "Yes, ma'am." And I don't know, some of you folks may never have seen a circus, but the elephants were always the very last thing in the circus, you know, in the parade. And the big, long, single-file string of elephants. And they, about 8 blocks away from our home, they had to cross a railroad track. And I recall this one particular day, just as this last elephant got on the track, the fastest train that ever came through Louisville came through at that same time, and you never saw such a mess in all your life. Cost that railway company $4,300,000. They only killed 1 elephant, but they pulled the tail off of 18 other ones. I remember my dad was telling us a story about one of those days when, to this day, I think he made it up, but he didn't tell it to me when I was just a little fellow. He waited until I was old enough to where he thought it was all right for me to hear a story of this nature. I think I was about 37. And he said that one of these elephants broke loose from a parade and got into a neighbor lady's backyard and got into her garden. And this is the part that I find hard to believe, but she said that she had never seen an elephant before in all of her life. So she reached down and she picked up the telephone and she called the police and said there's a great big animal in my backyard, in my garden. He said, what kind of an animal is it? She said, I don't know. All I can tell you is it has 2 tails. He said, two tails? And she said, yes, and he's pulling out my cabbages with one of them. And he said, well, what in the world is he doing with them? She said, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. I remember many times sitting there on the curb. I had a dream that I maybe someday would grow up and be a clown in a circus. And of course, my dream never came true. Well, it came half true. I grew up. And as a matter of fact, I did become a member of a circus. I was a performer. I was an aerial performer. In fact, I worked with my wife. We worked as a team, and we were known as Brooks and Brooks, world-famous high trapeze artists. And I used to catch my wife in the act 2 or 3 times a night. I'm sorry, I can't think of any other way to phrase that. But in that particular art, there were those who swung and those who caught. And my wife was a swinger, and I was a catcher. Of course, she doesn't swing anymore, and I wouldn't know what to do if I caught her.
Foster, I remember the very first time you're out. We'll have to do this first, and we'll come back and talk about that.
All right.
Okay. You're all sobered up. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back. We're back now. We're talking with Foster Brooks. Let me ask you, you do this so wonderfully, and the first time you were on our show was about 3.5 years ago, and people didn't really know for a while because you had not been seen nationally, and you came out, and they really thought you were bombed out of your gourd that time.
Oh, I'd spent the afternoon at Pepe's. Or Pepe's.
How did you learn to play such a convincing drunk? By observing and taking on the mannerisms of people?
I tell a lot of stories and tell them in dialect and all, but one night someone asked me if I would do a performance if I could get up about 15 minutes of comedy and perform at the City of Hope Dinner Dance and Ball at the International Hotel here in Hollywood, in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I'll try. And I had in mind doing something that I had done years and years ago on the Arthur Godfrey Talent Scout show when that was a big thing in radio. And while they were introducing me, I just happened to think at that moment of my dad and how beautifully he told a story in that character. Right. My character is doing everything he can to keep people from knowing that he has had too much to drink.
Overreacting.
He's not trying to act like a drunk. And my character is not trying to act drunk.
Right.
And he knows the people are laughing. He doesn't know necessarily why or particularly care. You ask him to come out and say something, and he's out there.
Right.
So and then while they were introducing me, I just thought of that, and I said, I believe I'll try this. And I did, and people laughed embarrassingly at me. They were laughing like this and looking like they were, oh, my Lord. I'd hear remarks like, that man will never get another job as long as he lives. Well, I've had hundreds of people tell me that they said the night I was on your show, the first time I had national exposure, they were saying that poor man, he won't even go to the office tomorrow.
How could he be with the Burbank City Council? Yeah, that's great.
And then I turned around and handed you that last piece of plaque I had when it broke right here.
You've had great success, and as you said before, of national stature, which came rather late in life for most people in the profession.
Yeah,
which is super.
I was 59 years old the night I was on your show, and it was 3 years ago. So things have really gone sky high for me. I've played with nothing but the best. Perry Como.
That's right.
Three nights ago, Bob Goulet. 2 nights ago, Wayne Newton. And last night, Roy Clark. And tonight, back with you again. Now, where are you going to send me from here?
I don't know. Where would you like to head for?
Oh, I don't know. I'd like to go home for a while.
Has it changed your life to any great extent outside of, making a little better money? And the recognition is always nice when people see you and know who you are.
Well, I enjoy that. I enjoy the recognition, but it hasn't changed. I always remember that I was born on 22nd Street in Louisville, Kentucky, between Broadway and Maple, and I still love to go back and visit my old buddies, and it hasn't changed anything but my bank account, really, I suppose.
But that's not a bad change.
No, that was a nice change, yes. And when I was with you before, I didn't even have a watch.
You got a watch now?
Yes, someone gave it to me.
Was your dad at all in the entertainment business, or was just a natural storyteller?
Dad was a beautiful storyteller. Right. And we had a man lived next door to us, a fellow named Roy Fisher. And he and Dad would get out in our kitchen almost every night and just try to outdo each other and telling all kinds of weird tales, And
that's where you pick up the great ear for the dialects.
Yeah. I recall Dad said, we had a little Boston bulldog named Buster. Mm-hmm. And every night at 11 o'clock, for some reason or another, for the longest time, Dad would say, Buster, it's time to go to bed. And this Buster would run upstairs, that little Boston bulldog, pull out a pillow out of the closet and circle around in it, and he'd go to sleep. Then finally, Dad got an idea, and he pulled out his watch at 11 o'clock. He said, Buster, and he held the watch down like this, and that's what any dog would come over and look, smell, whatever, He said, it's 11 o'clock, get upstairs and go to bed. So he did that for a while, until finally all he had to say was, Buster, and Buster would come look at the watch and go to bed. So now the man next door was over one night, and Roy Fisher was over home, and he said, Roy, do you know that's the smartest dog that ever lived? He said, what are you talking about? He said, he can tell time. He said, oh, come on, he can't tell time. He said, watch him. It's 5 minutes to 11 now. Watch him at 11 o'clock. He goes to bed every night at 11 o'clock. So 11 o'clock came, Dad reached in and said, Roy, see that? He said, yeah. He said, Buster? And Buster came running across the kitchen, looked at the watch, turned kind of shy like that, turned around, went upstairs and went to bed. And Roy Fisher said, by George, that's really something. I never saw anything like that. And Dad said, thought he'd go one better, you know. He said, that's not all that dog does, and I'll show you that later, some other time. He said, what's that? He said, he also talks. Now, Roy Fisher said, oh, well, I know about that. Now, Dad didn't know where to go from there, you know. And he says, well, how'd you happen to know about that? He said, my dog came home this morning and told me.
We'll take a short break. We're coming right back. Before we introduce my next guest, I want to mention that Foster opens January 23rd at the Frontier Hotel in Las Vegas with Buck Owens. And the next time you're coming back, you're going to do a song.
Yes.
Because I don't know how many people have heard you sing, and you sing well.
Thank you.
So next time, you will raise your voice. You don't do that as bombed out, though, do you?
Oh, no.
Straight away.
Yeah.
Victor Buono has not been with us a while. He's a fine actor and a most talented poet. And he is starting on a tour of 30 universities in January, starting at Dade College in Florida. And I think he's going to open with a New Year's poem. Would you welcome Mr. Victor Buono? Victor?
Thank you. Firm in the belief that even magnificence can be improved, I have some New Year's resolutions. A laugh, a sigh, cup of wine, a midnight toast to auld lang syne. Now fetch me paper, fill my pen, it's time to turn that leaf again. But this year I intend to make some promises I cannot break. Resolutions in my hand, resolutely here I stand on the edge of then and the cusp of now. In days ahead, I firmly vow not to play Romeo, not to sing Tosca, not to say no to an Emmy or Oscar, not to be stubborn whatever the cost, and never to ask for directions when lost. I won't learn to skydive, I won't learn to ski, and I won't throw a punch at Muhammad Ali. I won't buy a yacht or diet in Paris, or marry a yak, unless she's an heiress. I'll go right on wishing on hay trucks and stars and locking my keys in the trunks of cars. If the cabinet should visit Rome, I promise not to be surprised if Earl Butz is left at home, heavily anesthetized. Whenever I hear Love in Bloom, I'll smile and spill a couple tears of thanks for having had him here those 80 royal years. I'll be sweet to the kid who shouts, look at the fat man. He looks like the fat man who used to do Batman. I promise to be gentle, kind, and pleasant. But first, I'm going to knife the little peasant. In smart cafes with dainty chairs designed for munchkin derrieres and prices fit to bust a chic, instead of being mild and meek and humbly requesting a change of venue, I'll sit on the table, demand a menu, consider which dishes I deem apropos, and order a 7-course dinner to go. I'll boycott, banish, and ignore. I'll challenge to an open war commercials and ads and sales pitches composed by skinny sons of beagles proclaiming with fanatic relish that fat is awful, fat is hellish, fat's unlawful, fat's sad, fat's abnormal, fat is bad. Well, they're liars and it's just a bunch of bull. For fat is never having to say you're full. And I really should stop there, but there are 4 more lines, and I'm paid by the line, and I can use the extra 20 cents. So, and although I've been told that it's sweet to grow old and just watch as cares fade like a tan, I'm resolving to live just as long and as wide and as much as I possibly can.
As always, you've got a great ear for lines and construction.
Thank you.
That's another goodie.
Thank you, sir.
We haven't seen you for, well, it was last year.
Almost a year, a little over. I've been bouncing around like a beach ball.
You play in the universities, huh?
Yes. I.
Those must be great crowds
out
because the
next week.
college people are so aware of what is of what is going on.
Yes.
And hip.
It's a good place to learn under the guise of teaching.
Yeah. Weren't you doing something? They said you were at the Shakespeare or doing some Shakespeare?
I spent 4 months at the Old Globe Theater this summer doing Shakespeare in San Diego. Unfortunately, it was 2 miles from my grandmother's house. And so it was 4 months of ravioli, lasagna, and spaghetti. It was a great summer for Shakespeare, but my tailor didn't fare too well during it. I put on about 4 yards.
Yeah. You mentioned in your poem you'll never play Romeo. Now, I suppose because of your size, people always say, how about Falstaff?
I could play Romeo. I'd have to get a Buick and drag to play Juliet.
The death scene might be a little hairy. It'd take you a year and a half to die of poison before it got into the system. You never have played Romeo, though?
Not on stage.
What's your favorite Shakespeare that you can really...
I guess Falstaff is the one I have the most fun with. I'd like to see you play King Lear. I'll stand in line. I'll stand in line for that one.
Oh, thank you. Playing King Lear, you mean just as straight or just a little bit...
You could do anything.
In the bag. Have you ever played any Shakespeare at all?
No, indeed. I wouldn't dare touch it.
Oh, it's the doorkeeper in that Scottish play you're not supposed to mention while you're doing a show because it's bad luck.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Are you superstitious?
No!
The theater seems to be rampant with superstition. Don't whistle in the dressing room, all of those things.
Yes.
Where do those
I
emanate
have
from?
no idea, except that actors are perhaps sometimes kind of strange people.
Just a little.
Just a little.
Where did break a leg come from? Do you know at all?
I suppose someone said it to someone who they wanted to have break a leg.
But then it'd be reversed and became a good luck, right?
I believe it was Red Skelton who actually broke his leg, wasn't it? When someone said that to him, and he went out on stage and did break his leg one night. But that didn't start then.
No.
It's many years old, but you said something about the dressing room. Don't whistle in the dressing room and all this. That is bad luck. But the bad luck I've had when I've been with you is I've never had a dressing room.
Oh, we want to keep you from whistling. That's the main thing. You have another
sharing mine with a cobra.
You have another short bit of verbiage, prose.
By the way, you know, I travel. I'll be doing a lot of colleges, but I keep in touch. I watch the show, and did I hear you say something one night about the effects of marijuana on the
I was reporting, yes, we did a
men?
thing in the newspaper, that they found that heavy cigarette smoking among males, strangely enough, among men, increased the size of the breasts in males. It was in the newspaper.
I take your word.
An unusual item.
I have recently heard a discouraging word from a source which, of course, can be trusted, that he who smokes pot risks arrest if he's caught, and he also runs the risk of being busted. If it's true that the weed swells men's bosoms indeed if they smoke it without moderation, then I'd like to say that's a great price to pay in return for a cheap titillation. Now, many won't believe a word. They say it's utterly absurd, a wily way of playing on men's fears. Perhaps we'll all believe our eyes when Playboy starts to advertise the Johnny Carson line of men's brasiers. So smoke a plain old cigarette. Don't booby-trap your silhouette. You needn't be the same as all the rest. Go make the best of it. Make a clean breast of it. Be a man and get things off your chest.
You will never lack for material the way things have been going lately. It's good to see you again.
Good to be back.
We'll take a short break, and Adela's Roger St. John will join us, so stay where you are. My next guest is a fascinating woman, Adela Roger St. John's. For many years, she was a star reporter for Hearst newspapers. She's written several best-selling books, the latest being Some Are Born Great, which is a fascinating look into the lives of some of the extraordinary women of our times. Would you welcome warmly, please, Adela Roger St. John. And a happy New Year. I assume you've met the rest of our...
Hello, how are you? Glad to see you.
You're a woman alone tonight. All men except for you here.
Like that.
Yeah. Fascinating. You like that, huh? Fascinating
Well,
book.
I've been playing football all afternoon, so this has been quite a day.
Are you a football fan? Did you watch the games today?
I went.
You went to the game?
Sure.
Oh. Did you bet on them?
Now, you're not supposed to ask me.
Well, that's not illegal, actually. You know?
Isn't it?
No.
Oh, I thought it was.
I think it's illegal to make a bet with a bookie, isn't? But I think if you bet among friends, that's considered a sporting
But they don't stay
wage.
friends long if you bet them.
Not if you win, either.
It's better not.
Hey, did you write this for any... it's fascinating. You have a list of, I guess, what you consider the Hall of Fame of women, and you talk about a lot of great women. Was there any particular reason? Is it because of women's liberation?
Well, I got a little tired, to tell you the truth, of what was known as woman's lib, talking as though all women, up to the time they arrived, had spent their lives under rocks, you know, or under somebody's heel.
Right.
Well, I never had any discrimination, and I knew a lot of very great women.
Right.
And I thought it was a shame for them to give that idea. And I didn't see them doing anything very remarkable.
You've never been discriminated against because
Never. Of course not. Just the other way. You know that.
Well, I know, but you're extremely talented and very perceptive lady, too.
Ladies and girls and women get in lots of places where men don't. And while we didn't put on fake eyelashes, we knew more what to do with the ones we had than they do now.
Got a point there.
So we just, I have never been willing, Johnny, to come down and be equal with men.
You don't believe in that equality?
And would you, I mean, do you think women should? I don't think so.
You said come down. And
Yeah, I'm not going to come down and be equal with men. God made man. And he looked at him and he said, I can do better than that, and made a woman.
You're turning on us, right?
No, I'm not. I like men much better.
Well, Ashley Montague, you know, the world-famous anthropologist, has written the book, The Natural Superiority of Women, and says women in practically everything that they do are superior. Physically, intellectually, emotionally stronger, more perceptive.
Far, because I've got an awful lot of men friends.
Oh, so you're copping out now, huh?
No, but I do think that women, I wish we could get over any of this differences and hostilities. I was with some women from Women's Lib the other day, and they bark. You know.
Well, a lot of them are dogs, that's why. I have a feeling my house is going to be firebombed tonight, but you're a great straight woman. Or as they say now, a straight person. They don't say men or women. That's got no labels.
So silly.
Now, Amelia Earhart went on a solo flight and disappeared in 1940, 39?
In there. My memory for dates is dreadful.
Yeah, and she was lost, and then later the tales came out that she had been captured by the Japanese during the war, was held, or she was on a secret mission for the United States. The whole thing is shrouded. And as I mentioned earlier, a couple of years ago, somebody said that she was living. Now, how did you meet her, and what do you know about her?
Well, I knew her for a great many years, and we were very good friends. You see, she picked up aviation when Lindbergh dropped the ball. Mm-hmm. She came on and became the great woman flyer, and she did all the flights to Mexico, and I covered her as a reporter. I went down, saw her off, and you realize that of all women, perhaps Amelia changed fashion. Isn't this odd to think that a girl of her type, but she changed fashion more than any other woman, Chanel or any of the great Katharine Hepburns or anybody, because up to the time that Amelia did it, women didn't wear pants. They just plain didn't. And she said, I can't climb up and down around these airplanes all the time in skirts. Just no way I can do it. And put on slacks and boots and sweater and scarf.
Right.
And that became our national woman's costume. And she did that. I, of course, think I know exactly what happened to her. And I have tried to tell it in here, but it's a thing that came out of what, as a reporter, we used to call our stomachs. You felt it in your tummy, you know, right. Or you had a feeling you knew where Patricia Hearst was because your stomach did something. And they don't have stomachs anymore, apparently. But we used to. And I felt that I knew certain things about Amelia and certain things she said and did before she went. So I've always thought I knew what happened and where she was and all about it.
What do you think happened? Well, not tipping the whole book. What do you know?
Well, actually, and I've tried to tell the story as lovingly and as completely as I knew how in the book. She went, I saw her off, as I had done on most of her flights, and she went and got in, and then she came back and walked all the way across and held out her hands and took both of mine and held them very tightly and said, "Don't worry about me." Well, now, you know Amelia's not going to say, "Don't worry about me." She's just going to fly an airplane.
Right.
I mean, she'd flown airplanes to Mexico and across the Atlantic and across the continent, and I'd seen her off on all of them.
So this was your
and
stomach,
she'd always said,
stomach
"Hi,
response.
see you when I get back, you know. Let's have lunch Thursday." I mean, that kind of thing. And to say, "Don't worry about me," then I knew she had spent the 2 days before at the White House with President Roosevelt, and I knew that he was pressing at that time, as we found out later, to know when certain things were going to happen. So I just put it together and figured for sure that Amelia went to find out how far along our enemies were with the ships that were going to attack Pearl Harbor. That's what I think, and I've tried to... Now pilots tell me that her plane was not geared for this. But knowing my Amelia, she would have geared it and then covered it up.
Yeah, in other words,
You know,
it could
if you
have
were
been.
going on that kind of a flight.
It could have been a subterfuge
Yes.
even for other pilots.
Yes.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back. It is such a pleasure to see you again, and I hope you come back with us.
Thank you. Always glad to see you.
The book is called Some Are Born Great. It's most interesting. I think you really enjoy this book, and next time we'll follow up on some of the other ladies in your life.
Oh, I'd love that.
I hope you have a very happy New Year.
And the same to you.
And Victor?
To all of us, to the whole world.
Yes.
We need
Healthy
it.
and happy. Victor, you're headed for Dade College in Florida?
Dade College, University of Wisconsin, Boise College, Boise State, and quiet burial at sea sometime.
Thank you. Good night. I'm humbled by that applause.